This Stihl BR 600 backpack blower was given to me by a homeowner. It's not from a business. He said he fought with it and couldn't get it going. I have no idea what's wrong with it or what he might have done to it. Hopefully he didn't run straight gas in here. And I can see, no, it's mixed fuel, and there is a full tank here. Let's go ahead and try to prime it, and it's pulling some fuel. Choke's on. Let's turn it on, give it a pull, see if it'll run. Uh-oh. There's no compression here at all. Nothing. Now, I'm not real fond of this design. This is actually a 4-cycle engine, but it doesn't have a crankcase with oil in it. You have to use a special oil mix in the gas, and it's not standard 2-cycle oil. You got to use a special oil mixed with that gas. And there's an intake and exhaust valve up here. So my take on this is I think we either have a major problem with the piston or the block of the engine, or possibly a problem with the valves. Hopefully it's a simple fix, a problem with the valves, but let's dig a little deeper and see what's wrong. First thing I want to do is pull the spark plug out and actually do a compression test on it. Plug's a little carboned up, and I've got a compression tester, but if you don't have one, you can just stick your finger over the hole or your thumb, and if you've got decent compression, when you pull that, you shouldn't be able to hold your thumb over that hole. It should push that air past there. And I don't feel anything. Ay, ay, ay. Wow. Now this is a good compression tester, and if you want to get one, I'll put a link in the description below. You can buy the cheap ones. They're around $10 on Amazon, and they are not even close to being accurate. This should have at least 100 pounds per square inch, and if it did, those cheap ones might say you got 40 or 50. They're way off. They're worthless. Anyways, you just select the right size, put it together, screw it in, plug this in. We're all set to go, and we'll go ahead and give it a pull. We might not get anything out of this, it's so bad. Holy smokes! And I'm right about that. We got nothing. So we'll go ahead and take it apart, see what's going on in there. Now, one thing nice that Stihl does is they use a T27 Torx for almost all their screws. So to take this off, we got 1, 2, and a couple at the bottom. And you want to pay attention. There will be some machine screws and then some of these larger threaded screws that go into plastic. Make sure you put back what you take out. And I'll take the side cover off. We need to take the recoil off. Now these are machine screws here. So you got to pay attention to that. They're different threads. And then there's a couple screws, one here and one in there. Then there's a couple nubs right here that you got to pull that up, and then you can pull the cover off. Take the recoil off first. There's nothing there, nothing there. Now another handy tool that I like to use is this depth tech endoscope, borescope, and it's real handy to look down in cylinders, or if you have plumbing problems or whatever. I'll also put a link in the bottom. But let's go ahead and look in that cylinder and see how it looks. Just push this button here to turn it on, hold it for a couple seconds. This is a dual camera. There's a camera on the end here, and there's a camera on the side. So you can look at the cylinder wall, and you can also look at the top of the piston there. So let's check it out, see what we got. You can see the top of the piston has a fair amount of carbon on it. And I'm going to switch and look at the side wall of the cylinder. Got to get it down in there further. And that doesn't look too bad. You're looking for the vertical lines for scoring. It looks pretty clean. I don't see any big gouges or anything. There's where your intake and exhaust valve is, right in there. And there's a little copper washer on top of that, if you ever take yours apart to adjust the valves. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little washer on there. And then, oh, the gasket's on here still. That was knocked out. Both valves are working, but this was pushed over to the side, so it threw it way off. Well, now I'm getting some compression. So this rocker arm was knocked off of here. But we do have some compression now. I want to check the valve lash on this. Basically, it's just the gap there. And it calls for 0.1 millimeter or 4/1000ths of an inch. And there it is right there on my feeler gauge. They've got two little prongs sticking down. So you can't stick a regular feeler gauge in there. They want you to buy their tool. So I just trimmed a little bit off of this. And I'll slide this in to check it. Now you've got to get it to top dead center. And the way you do that, that just means the piston's all the way up at the top. But you want to be on the compression stroke. So right now, I was down at the bottom here. There's an S on this, and they want you to line that up with the coil, but you want to be on the compression stroke. And when you're on the compression stroke, there shouldn't be any tension on these, and there's tension. So you need to go around one more time, down and back up, and line that up. You can see I'm right up at the top. And these are both loose. That's where you adjust these. Now I'll just take my little feeler gauge, and it should be a snug fit. You can slide it in, but it shouldn't be loose in there, and these are real loose. So I need to tighten these down. I think these are 8 millimeter. I'm going to go get a wrench, tighten it down, and so there's just a little bit of drag on there. And I'll slide my feeler gauge in there. And it's real loose right now. It's 8 millimeter. Tighten it up. Still loose. Still loose. Still loose. There, it's just starting to grab. And that was so loose, what I think happened is this rocker arm pulled up, and actually one of those little tabs was sitting on top of the push rod, which was holding that open. That's why we had no compression. See how loose that is? That feels good. Of course, if you order the little kit, it'll come with the feeler gauge that you need. And it's good to spin it a couple times and then check it again. That's good. That was really loose. Now they recommend you put a new gasket on anytime you pull this cover off and a new washer, but I'm not going to invest any money in this until I know that it'll work. I'm going to reattach these screws that hold the carburetor on. Get the grease off the flywheel magnet. And when you put this back together, there's a couple clips the coil wire goes behind. You want to tuck that back in there. Just like that. And then it fits in this groove right here. And we can plug the coil wires back in. And since I have this opened up, I might as well check the coil gap. You just use a business card. Right there where it meets is where the gap is. That's a little tight. And you can set it where the magnet pulls that in. The magnet on the flywheel. That's set there. And then you just tighten it back down. And I wouldn't recommend using a power tool unless you're very, very familiar with them. There we go. This coil to the spark plug, I had stuffed on the inside. It should go on the outside here. Gotta pull the plug wire through. And you gotta get these on top of these nubs here. There we go. We'll put the recoil on just so we can test that compression again. See where we're at. These are machine screws. I usually like to go counterclockwise till I hear it click and then screw them in so I don't cross thread them. think that's all we need to at least check the compression. And like I said, if you don't have a compression tester, you can just put your thumb over it. And I can feel it popping my thumb off already. Maybe you can hear it. Hear that air blowing by? I can't keep it from blowing by. Now we'll check it. Hopefully we have at least 90 pounds of pressure. And I just pull it until it stops going higher. We're at 130. How about that? Yeehaw! Then you just push this button to let the pressure off. I've got one of these cheap compression testers, and I'll show you just for fun what kind of reading we get out of that. I've never had good luck with it. Here we go. I got maybe 60. Not accurate, like I said. And we'll put our plug back in. All right, what do you think? Choke, prime, on, and we'll give her a pull. Come on, baby. I got the muffler off, that's why it's so loud. I think it's gonna run. I'm going to put the muffler on. Everything's checking out here. And we'll make a little adjustment to the carburetor if we need to. And I think we're good to go. Hee-hee! And yes, I should have had enough confidence to put the muffler on when I had it all apart. But this doesn't take long. And I can see the screen in there. And it looks good. Sometimes those screens will clog up on the exhaust and it won't have power, won't have acceleration. You just need to take that off. You unscrew this and this, pull it off, clean the screen, and put it back on. And to clean the screen, all you do is take a lighter or a torch, if you have a torch, and burn it off and just brush it off and it comes right off. This cable here fits in. There's slots in here that it fits in. You want to get that in there. It fits all along there. And then the cover holds it in. Just like that. And put the cover on. And all these Torx bits and everything I've got listed in the video description down below if you're interested in purchasing any of it. I'm going to blow out the air filter. And this filter, it looks a little dirty, but it's actually not that bad. I'll show you how you can check them. You just go up to a light or the sun, and if you can see through it like that, that's pretty good. It's not brand new, but good enough to let it run a little more. And the cover. Hook the spark plug back up. And we'll go ahead and adjust the carburetor after we get it started. This is the high side over here, and this is the low side. And it's marked with an H and an L. And then you just use a flathead screwdriver for the idle screw. you can look at all these tools and kits that I use in the description below the video. And just to let you know, once I get this started, I'll let it warm up. And for the low side, you just adjust it until you have the highest RPM, the smoothest running. And for the high side, we're going to throttle it up full throttle. And you go till you hear the highest RPMs, the smoothest running. And then back it off counterclockwise a quarter to a half turn so it doesn't run too lean. That's how I set them. And then the idle, just so you're at a comfortable idle speed. Ha! How about some compression? We'll let it warm up. See, the throttle's not real responsive, but it's cold still. But that's all in the carburetor adjustment. All right, it's been running for a while. It's all warmed up. And I'm going to go ahead and check the throttle and see how that's working. See that delay in the throttle? I'm going to open up the low side a little bit and see if that fixes it. I think we're in good shape there. If this video is a help to you, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. And I look forward to helping you with other